Oral.
Oral question.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I will begin by wishing a welcome back to Canada to the Prime Minister after his great vacation costing $89,000 free that he got as a gift, just like any other Canadian who gets a vacation like that. And he's not talking about the 2 million Canadians who have to go to a food bank or to the students in Montreal who have to use homeless shelters after his policies tripled rent in his home city. Will he overturn these inflationary policies that have made it difficult? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, 7 years ago, 6 Muslim Canadians were killed and 19 others seriously wounded during a terrorist attack at the Quebec City mosque in Sainte-Foy because of their religious beliefs. We mourn the loss of these people who were murdered in cold blood, and we stand with those who have suffered from Islamophobia and hate. Over the course of the last months, Muslim Canadians have seen a concerning rise in hate speech and discrimination, and more than ever before, we need to stand together. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, 2 million Canadians have to go to a food bank. Students have to live in homeless shelters. In Quebec City, the cost of housing has doubled. In Montreal, it has tripled. Across Canada, the cost of housing has doubled since this Prime Minister promised to reduce the cost of housing. Will he finally overturn the policies that create bureaucracy and inflation to allow developers to ensure affordable housing for people who need it? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader is launching personal attacks to deviate the debate on housing and to avoid that people recognize the fact that he has no plan. Canadians know that it's not with slogans that housing will be built. He has tried in vain to delay the elimination of the GST on rental housing. He voted against the Housing Acceleration Fund, which allowed the construction, or will allow the construction of more than 500,000 housing units. There's a lot of progress being done, and we will continue to do that. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Minister back from his $80,000 vacation, which he got for free. He said, like most Canadians, friends welcomed him for that vacation. He took 2, not 1, but 2 private jets paid for by the taxpayer, burning 100 tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. He wants to tax the heat and the food of Canadians. Did he pay the full carbon tax on each of the 100 tons of emissions that he put into the atmosphere as part of his $80,000 vacation?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The Conservative leader has simply no plan to address climate change in this country, no plan to increase the resilience of our communities in the fight against climate change. Warming climate causes droughts. Droughts damage crops. Damaged crops increase the cost of groceries. And yet, the Conservative Party cannot even agree on whether or not climate change is real. Mr. Speaker, we will achieve our emissions reductions, all the while sending Canadians checks to help with the costs of rising prices. They're a real solution.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, he says that greenhouse gas emissions are driving up grocery prices. He put 100 tons of those emissions in the atmosphere for his personal vacation. This is high tax, high flying, high carbon hypocrisy. Meanwhile, Canadians in Edmonton were facing minus 50-degree temperatures on which they were paying carbon taxes just to heat their homes and stay alive. Given that he gives himself a free vacation at other people's expense, will he at least allow Canadians to heat their homes without his tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The Conservative leader likes to talk about the challenges Canadians are facing on the cost of living, but he refuses to take action in support of them. He chose to delay the passage of Bill C-59, which is also hurting his own caucus.
That's right.
Does the member for Battleford's Lloydminster now suddenly oppose maternity leave for adoptive parents? Surely the member for Cumberland Colchester won't back down on his advocacy to remove the GST on therapy and counselling services. While the Conservative leader is muzzling his own caucus and putting himself first, we'll keep putting Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This one is just too easy. He walked into it. He had to muzzle a member from Newfoundland who called for an end to his leadership, joining another senator who did the same, because they understand that their constituents are literally starving and unable to heat their homes because the Prime Minister is quadrupling the carbon tax, doubling housing costs, and giving the worst inflation in 40 years. Why won't he listen to, instead of intimidating, his member for Newfoundland and put his leadership up to a review for...
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, over the course of the fall, we've announced projects on housing that are going to create 500,000 new homes across this country over the year. We're working hand in hand with community leaders, with mayors. We're making sure that we're moving forward on the priorities that are facing Canadians. In terms of standing up for his caucus, the leader across the way will not even mention the fact that the person sitting 3 seats to his left dined with a far-right conservative German politician and wants to abolish the United Nations. Is abolishing the United Nations now the official position of the Conservative Party of Canada?
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. It's going to be long, Mr. Speaker. This House passed a unanimous motion urging the government to consult Quebec and the provinces on immigration targets. Yet the government seems to be implementing policies suggested by Mackenzie, a Century Initiative, and even more, because if we continue at that rate, we'll go beyond 100 million by the end of the century. Is the government ignoring the unanimous vote of the House, or will it review its policies with Quebec and the provinces? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, immigration is essential for Quebec and Canada. Immigrants contribute to building new housing. They work in our healthcare system. They take part in economic growth of local businesses and more. We are meeting our economic needs. We're remaining true to our humanitarian commitments, and we're developing a stabilizing approach in immigration. Our immigration levels are based on our capacity to welcome and integrate newcomers, and we will continue the work in close collaboration with the provinces and territories, particularly Quebec, to ensure that the Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. If there is stabilization at the current numbers, there will be beautiful decades to come. I think we're hearing the end of the last session, and we're starting a new session. And let's have a new state of mind.